All right, we're back, you guys. Welcome to Tai Chi for another week. Great to see you. If you are new, you're in for a fun experience. We'll be violating lots of rules and doing things differently than the way you learned it. But not to say that I'm not a traditionalist. I'm totally into traditional Tai Chi, but we're going to try some new interpretations of a real classic move. I shouldn't say new, not new at all, just different than what you might be used to. Anyway, and if you're a regular, welcome back. Great to see you. I really feel like I can feel you guys somehow. I was thinking, if you are familiar, well, let's do some shoulder rolls. If you're familiar with the idea of a group dynamic or an energy, a special energy that is created when a group of people get together, I mean, if you're willing to entertain that idea, which I think is pretty obvious that it exists, if you look at how popular group exercise is, there's got to be a reason why we do it together. Obviously, it's beyond needing the instructor. Otherwise, you would have private classes, right? But there's something about a whole bunch of people getting together. So if you believe that, then how much of a stretch beyond that is it to believe, we're going the other way now, is it to believe that it could be non-local? So you could feel the energy of the group without the group actually being there. And then if you can entertain that notion, how much further of a stretch is it to believe that it could be also non-temporal, so it doesn't have to take place at the same time? Oh, hey, baby, how you doing? Good. She loves Tai Chi. Yeah, she loves the energy. She can feel the relaxation. Can't you? Yes, good girl. I think she likes Tai Chi almost more than yoga. Shh. Don't tell my yogis that. Okay, let's move up to our neck. We haven't started doing much Tai Chi yet. We're just loosening up. So if the daytime highs are running 106, 107, maybe we're not calling it a warm-up anymore. We're calling it a loosen up. But it's still important, still important. Let's look side to side. So you guys don't know whether this for me is daytime or nighttime. You don't know if I have the AC on. The answer is no, I'm not using the AC. So it's about 95 in here right now, and I'm already a little dry. So let's look straight ahead and tip the head from side to side. I like the heat though, but we're still working on the swamp cooler. And that's a whole nother video. Actually, people make a lot of videos about the Master Cool cooler because it's a really good cooler. And it's pretty easy to work on. They last a long time. Okay, great. So massage the neck and shoulders. There's only so much you can do with movements. And then, speaking of movements, we're going to do some more dragon movements. And the dragon movements, so this is part 2. And I should have, as an introduction, I should have even just explained, I guess, what might be sort of obvious. Is the dragon movements, it's a mythical creature, and it's a combination, it's a synthesis of things. So you could say it's sort of like a winged serpent, but it could have tiger claws. So, but it does have certain qualities, right? And more so you find in like Kung Fu, they really define the qualities, but it has these big open movements, right? And airy, similar to like if you combined a bird and a serpent. So a bird is light, the serpent is twisty, so they're good for this time of year because they could be cooling type things. So, but before we get into that, we always like to do. Let's see. Let's do monk picking fruit, because there's nothing like this in our form, and there's nothing like this in any of the Qigong we're going to do today. And this just really feels so good, right? Start out with a nice stretch. Remember, do something a little different each time so it's not boring. And keep the heels planted if you've never done this before. So this is our first example of many of oppositional forces in the body that are not canceling each other out, they are multiplying each other. So the downward force of my heels is giving me stability, and it's not preventing me from reaching up. In fact, I can reach up, I can't reach up any higher than if I was on my toes, but I've got power and real stability, and I can really reach up. So this is a great example of these dualistic oppositional forces that not only this plus this minus this equals 0. No, it's not like that. Oh, so it's 50 plus 50 equals 100. No, it's not like that. It's 50 plus 50 equals more than 100, right? So that's the secret. That's the secret. So our first dragon movement, again, keeping it, we'll start gentle. Okay, so we'll do dragon lashes its tail. We've done this as a teacup exercise, but instead of a teacup exercise, that's from Bagua. This is dragon lashes its tail is seen mostly in sword form. So we'll make the sword hand, which is 2 fingers, no tension in this grip here, the thumb across the fingers, and it's done in a lot of weapons forms. And I think it's in some empty-handed forms too. So you just watch me first. So we come around, whipping around, dragon lashes its tail, and then we come around to here. So it's neat because as a weapons form, oh, and my feet are parallel, and I'm not going to be, if I'm coming from side to side, I'm not doing that because we want to intensify this twisting, okay? And so just for fun, hang on a second, we'll get some gloves. And we'll go. The left and the right doesn't matter, but you can see my hand a little easier as it's going around, right? If it makes a difference. So that's so the right is always orange, at least for this class. Left is yellow. So if we start with our right hand, because most people are right-handed, you'll be able to understand this better. So I'm coming around, got my sword hand, okay, and back. And I'll turn away from you in a second, but I just want to get the general movement. So it's circling around. Okay, so remember it's called dragon lashes its tail. So like any, or like most of these swingy weapons movements, oh, baby likes that, is your hand is moving faster than anything else. Dragon is it's also known as dragon whips its tail. So remember, a whip moves very slowly up at the handle and very quickly out at the end. So whatever you do, don't put your mind in your hand, okay? Your hand is not leading this movement. There are some movements where the hand is sort of going to lead, but this is not one of them. So obviously, so as I'm going around, I'm leading with my hip, but that's hard to really connect the hip to the shoulder. So maybe you could put your mind more in your shoulder coming around, or at least lead with your elbow, okay? So that the hand is just an afterthought that's just trailing behind, but it's generating tremendous speed compared to compared to the hip, shoulder, and then the elbow's moving pretty fast, but the hand is really whipping around. So in the sword form, or in the stick form where we do this, or the cane form, it's a bunch of strikes. Okay, a strike here, and then a strike here, and then this is just a conservation of energy, sort of just like not wasting. Don't stop here. You just spin this around, and then maybe, I don't know what's going on behind us. Maybe there's some sort of a strike back there. So there's at least 2 or 3 strikes. I don't know. It's really cool. So let's do, before we change hands, I'll just turn to the side in case you don't get it. And I'm really turning my waist, right? So this is our warm-up, because we're going to do so if you think this is dynamic, there's another dragon movement. It's even more dynamic. It's not fast like this, but it's really twisty turning, right? Okay, so, oh look, here comes Ben New. Isn't that great? He wants to do a little Tai Chi too. All right. Hey, Ben New. Uh-oh. Okay, so let's do the left hand. Make your sword hand. Same as the right. If you got it on one, but you know what you haven't seen is you might have not seen behind my back. Excuse me for not facing you. So it comes around like this, and then just kind of, and maybe sticks to your back. Remember from our push hands, we're always very sticky. We're always sticky in all our Tai Chi. But if you don't have a second person, sometimes we stick to our own body, right? It can be good practice, right? Even if I don't even know if it has a function, but it can be good practice to stick to yourself in certain movements. So I'm definitely coming in and sticking here. I'm going to stick all the way around, just for fun, just for practice, just to get that feeling of light adherence. Because we'll need that when we do our movement from our form of the day, high pat the horse. Okay, I think we did just about as much on this side as we did on the other side. So remember, so let's just vary it up though. Let's go super slow. Maybe I should have gone really slow before, sorry. But you can always pause the video. So when you go slower, I think you see how much you actually turn the waist compared to how much you're turning your body. And then just for fun, we'll go a little faster. Just feel how it really whips. Okay, cool. Great. Okay. Don't mind if I take a sip of water. So, if you read the description of last week's video, you'll see something called Green Dragon Presents Claws, but we didn't do it. Sorry. But we'll do it today. All right, and maybe I'll edit that description so later you won't know what I'm talking about. All right, so this is a side-to-side movement, but the movement is named for the middle. Big deal. So the middle's not doing very much. Remember when we make our dragon claws, or maybe we did do it last week, I don't know, but we'll do it again. Okay, so when you make your dragon claws, hold the ball, please. Don't make tension, right? It's the claws is not that big of a deal. Just hold the ball so there's no tension. Oh, hey, baby. Okay, so in this one we can pivot. So do your best pivoting. Remember, don't make a big deal out of it, but just remember to pivot. on your heels, and don't pivot on a weighted heel. Okay, so here we go. So, oh, and just so you know which hand is going, the hand that is extending forward is always going to be the one closest to you. And you'll see what I mean by that once we get started. So I'm going to hit, so I got green dragon, okay, presents its claws, and I turn. So see the hand, the claw extending outward is the one closest to you. And the one behind me is reaching back and slightly up, okay? And then I'm going to just come back to where we started, present my claws, and then remember pivot. You can always pivot a little bit first before you do your hand movement, because it just gives your upper body movements more power to have a solid base, right? You could do it, in theory, you're doing it sort of simultaneously, but in a way, it's just right before. So present claws. I can even take a little step. Wow, what if I did that? It gives me wider. That way I'm wider. See why I did that? Okay, so so start here again. If I pivot but don't step over, I'm going to be very narrow. So if I just pivot, then look what I call narrow. I hope we're not interchanging terms, but what I call narrow in this direction, this dimension. So on the other side, watch this. So instead of just pivoting, I'm gonna turn and then step out, and then also I can lengthen my stance if I wanted. Oops, told you the wrong thing. I'm gonna lengthen my stance also, so I can widen and lengthen. Okay, so come back to here, shift my weight. So I'm not only pivoting, but I'm gonna step this over and then out a little bit. So wow, so now look at that. So my stance is longer and wider. Okay, come back to center. So in order to move this foot, to really move it, I'm going to have to really shift my weight over to here. But I can already be starting to move my hands, right? Okay, and then then I can really extend once I've got this. But look at this, I'm checking myself. Even if I'm really into it, I don't want to come out to here. So you want to be able to see your toes over your knee, which basically means the femur is vertical. Okay, so now instead of stopping, we'll do it smoothly. Oh, let me tell you one more thing. I'm not going to stop. I'll tell you while we're doing it. And the re-stepping, that's optional. You don't have to be doing that. So I had to step my foot up now because I repositioned my foot, right? So, and then you got to pivot the back foot. A lot of pivoting going on. So I don't even know if I should even add anything else, but I'm going to step up. So presenting its claws gives you a chance to reset, okay? Because the more you're doing in this side to side, then you're going to have to start to reset stuff. Okay, I'm going to add one more thing, you guys. You can do a look back. So when you come, so see, I'm even getting some circular movements here. Yeah, this is great. This is really fun. You can always embellish these Qi Kung movements. I can do a look back. I'm going to look back at my back claw. See, you can just barely see my back claw. Hey, baby. Okay, great. So I reset. I think that must be why the dragon presents its claws at the center. This would be an afterthought if we didn't have to reset. So I'm going to peek it back at my back claws. Come back to here. Reset. So But like, say for instance, if Master Yan did this, okay, it would be, my feet would be much closer. My hands probably wouldn't be very high at all. And I would just go like this. I mean, I swear. He's a master of understatement. But everything I showed you is all contained in what he does, but it's so subtle, right? So, as I've said before, subtle is great. Subtle is genius, but I can't teach subtle. If I described everything that I had described before, but couldn't exaggerate it a little bit, I don't think I could convey it, right? But almost with like Master Yan, for instance, just being in his presence is conveyance enough. So I'm going to go back to the way I was doing it before. Big exaggeration, reset. All right, little pre-turn. All right, so it just goes to show there's many ways of doing these things, right? So not to say that Master Yan couldn't do it this way. In fact, he's incredibly strong, and he could assume insanely low stance. His legs are incredibly strong, right? But he chooses to go like this, right? It's always a choice, right? Or you could go, but it doesn't have to be a choice. You could do it this way because maybe you have an injury, you have pains, or you're not feeling too good, right? So if you're doing it, so that's enough for that movement, okay. Okay, this one is great. This is the one that I said was very dynamic, not in the fact that we move around very much, but this has got so much internal twisting, it's out of this world. So we're going to take a horse riding stance. So our feet are fairly wide, right? Maybe a little wider than our shoulders. And then we're going to sit down, and then sit down. So first we sit down, but then after this we're going to sit down without sitting down any further. So when you remind yourself to sit down as we go, then you're sitting down mentally. We've already sat down physically, and then from here on out you just sort of continue to reset, but you're not sitting down further. So there's a bunch going on here, but there's only so much I can describe to you. You're going to have to do it yourself, obviously, but what I mean by that is what I suggest is I'll tell you how we start and then tell you how we end, and then I think you can allow your body to fill in the gaps. So what I'm talking about is this is how we're going to start holding a ball. If you don't know what to do with your hands in Tai Chi, always hold a ball. So, and then let's say this is my right hand, because it is. This hand is going to go around, and this hand's going to roll down. But it's important where this ends up is more important than how it gets there. It's going to end up with the palm up, with the fingers pointed at you, and then you can look to the side, okay, and just hold this movement here. So it's almost neat as a static movement, but it's Qigong, so we're going to move. So we just come back to center. So this is really good, like almost like as a yoga move. So we come up to there. Oh man, and I'm not really turning too much here, you guys. Or let's just say I'm not moving my feet at all. That's what intensifies the twist. And I'm looking up at my hand, and then we'll come back to here. Turn that down. So this is all very circular. I hope you can see. I'll turn sideways so you can see I'm not bending my elbows very much at all. So let's see how we go here. So turn that down, and this can come around to there. So I'm trying to get as much of a circle in here, pulling back. Okay, so that looks about right. Here. Here. There's a lot of twisting going on in this. I'm sure you can feel it when you do it. If you just watched it, you wouldn't be able to feel it. Or it's very intense. But looking at it, looks like nothing. So what did we call it? Dragon separates the heaven and the earth. And you'll find a lot of heaven and earth Qigong, and there's all sorts of interesting symbolism with that, and there's entire heaven and earth sword form. It has this up and down. We'll go more into it next week. In fact, this could be there could be a third part. We do a part 3 to this. We'll do a part 3 to this video. I think the next one's gonna be my last one. All right, so let's meditate here, holding our ball. Let that sink in. If your legs are on fire, you can come up a little bit, but keep the knees soft at least. Okay, so we had a nice meditation. You guys, you can meditate in any stance you want. Same as yoga. I want my yogis to think of the entire practice as a meditation, not just at the end, right? So any movement that you like, you can hold that form and meditate there if you want. I really encourage it. Have a sip of water. So we'll do our balance. So this is sort of an auspicious occasion because we have done, I tried to do a different balance in each one of these videos, and we have done every balance, I believe, in our form, right? Which means, and what I mean by balance is any movement that ends with our weight back, there is an implied, there's a lightness. Empty stance means you could pick this foot up, and so therefore you could turn it into a balance. So we did our white crane, we did phoenix, we did ride the tiger. We've done a bunch of different things, right? I think we even did our dragon posture as a balance. If we didn't, we'll do that next week. Otherwise, I'll start to delve into the world of Qigong for balances, but generally speaking, you don't get a lot of balances in Qigong. So we'll do, our last one is high pat the horse, also known as high pat on horse. And this is one of those things where there's a lot of differences, right? This is what I was referring to earlier. A lot of differences from form to form, and even the words are different. So in the yang, traditional yang form, it is preceded by, if I remember, it's preceded by single whip, and then there's like a little turn, here, and then boom, like that. And so you can see high pat the horse, you're patting the horse, maybe giving it a sugar cube with your left hand. But the application is not generally back like this. The application is something like a bam, like a strike, where coming forward, so it doesn't really, sometimes the application doesn't seem to fit the idea that your weight is back. Ours is definitely back. It's so much far back that we're picking up the knee. So it's similar to what we did last week with the golden rooster, right? It's like this. So the movement that precedes ours is, let's see, so we neutralize, open, and pung. So our weight's forward, and then a back fist comes in, and instead of blocking it, force versus force, we kind of slip it, and this is a flanking movement. So I believe that High Pat the Horse in some of the versions has this turning, it has a torquing and a twisting kind of a feeling to it, and it's not a real linear movement. So we come around, so I pivot the right foot, and then I come around, and then boom. So this is the move. So this will be our balance. So I'm going to turn to face you. So it doesn't matter what we did beforehand. We just come here, a back fist comes over, and instead of meeting force to force, or we would come around, sort of deflect, maybe drag it down, and then come around to here. So this will be our high pat, and this is our balance of the day. Okay? All right, let's try it again. From a pung, come around to there. It's not easy. All right, so let's try it again. So from a pung, pivot and step around. Okay. Okay. And what comes next? They attack our weighted leg, and we have contact here, so we drag them down, and we do wind sweeps to lotus. So don't worry about that. Let's do this again, sort of as a drill or as practice. It's a dynamic balance. It's not a static balance. It ends up static, but it is very much beginning dynamically. I think the dynamic balances are easier than the static balances. So I come around, so my weight's forward, I come into sort of a pung. It's actually more of a twisting this way pung, but anyway, it doesn't matter, it doesn't make that much difference. And so I'm gonna have to shift back anyway to pivot this foot, and then I'm gonna put some weight on it and come around and boom. So it's a high-low attack. It's a knee attack and a hand attack, or you could be pulling your partner into the knee, however you want to interpret it. There's always room for interpretation. So then it gets to this. So then why is the name, so you can see the high, and then, boy, we should try it on the other side, okay? This feels really weird, but we're gonna try it. Okay, so this is my left hand now. I'm gonna face this way. Okay, this is my left hand. I'm gonna pivot. I've never done this before. Okay, so this back fist comes in, and I'm gonna come around to here. I've never done it on the left side before. This is very strange. Okay, but if you guys aren't familiar with it, the left side and the right side should feel virtually the same. But if you've done it 1,000 times in one side, it feels very strange. Okay, so from a different angle, so we come in with this pung, so this opening pung feeling, and then I'm gonna sort of sink back enough to pivot this foot. My partner's here, remember? I'm gonna come around and boom. Okay, you can keep both palms facing down, but traditionally the bottom palm is facing up, whatever. Okay, and so again, it looks like, why don't I just talk and balance at the same time? So we'll do it one more time on the left. So come around, and just come around to here. So it looks like you're patting a horse, right? But so I always look at the language, realizing that the translations are not good, and also realizing that the movement may have changed over centuries, as well as the name changed, and the movement and the name got further apart. The name got changed, the movement got changed, but we still, if we use whatever we can as clues, right? So let's do it on the other side again. I'm more familiar with this. So we come in, so we neutralize, open, pong, and then come around. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not facing it anymore, so we'll try this again. Okay, so here, and then to here. So, so high pat on horse, where did that come from? You can't pat a horse if you're on the horse. So when there's a discrepancy, so I usually look to the name to give me more insight into the movement. But if it raises questions, that's the only time when I look to the Chinese. And it happens to be Gao Ten Ma. Let me check that. Gao Ten Ma. Gao is tall, as in high, and then Ma is horse. So what is the Tan? This is the great part. Tan refers to scout. So now we're seeing that maybe this refers to a scout riding his horse. A scout would be an archer, actually, right? So this would symbolize being on horseback, right? Because you can't have both legs up, that wouldn't make any sense. I suppose Gao Ten, if it was low pat the horse, we'd be in horse riding stance, right? But it's high pat the horse. I think we made a discovery here. Okay, so that's our balance for the week. And I tell you what we'll do. Everything I've told you so far is Yang style. Next week, I'll tell you about Wu style. Slightly different interpretation, but we don't want to spend too much time on it in case you're bored. Let's do our form. Have some more water. Okay, so we normally do our form. I want to do our form from every possible angle in these videos so that I've never left anything out. There's nothing that's puzzling as far as where does my hand go, where does my foot go. So I have never done them diagonally. I swear we won't do on the north and south sometime. Or I tell you what, I'll do my form on the north and south, but I'll set up the camera on a diagonal sometime before we're done with these videos. Done with the videos means everyone's back, COVID is gone, so we'll see, we'll see. I don't know how long that's going to be, but let's see, where were we? Oh, so I was going to do the form, why don't I face east? That's different, all right? And if I end up facing away from you, maybe there's some information there that you needed. And if not, if you want to see it from a more traditional angle, please refer back to previous videos, right? Okay. I'll start out, let's see, so this should work. Oh, this will be really different. Okay, so another thing we could do, here's another thing. Let me not talk you through it. And let me say, if you're brand new, please refer back to some previous videos so that I describe the footwork and stuff. Let me do it silently and you look along visually. Yeah. If you don't feel comfortable, well, all right. No. If you don't feel comfortable with that, just pause it and start it and stuff like that. Okay, so. No, I'm going to keep talking. So 7 stars. I'm going to talk. We'll do, okay, carry hammer. Single whip, shifting back. So switch hands. White ape swings through branches. What I was going to say is we should have a couple of things we can do silently and meditatively. But our form, we're probably not there yet. And there's always interesting things in the form that I want to tell you about. So pivot, step up and over. For instance, don't fall into this foot, set this foot down and then shift right intentionally and then shift back, left intentionally, elbow strikes the heart. Now you can't really see what's going on, but you will see shortly. Ring the gong. This is a strike with our weight back, which is very, that's very rare. Shift forward, strike a tiger, step up and strum the lute. Okay, sink back, pivot around, inspect horse's mouth. All right, so half step back, and the arms go back and down, half step back. So I shouldn't separate these things when I describe them because it's one single movement, but you could say that about the entire form. You know, if philosophically the form is completely unbroken and the transitions from one movement or thing to another are just as important as the movement itself. So this or that. The transitions are just as important. So there's a philosophy that say you wouldn't even think of the form as 88 movements. It's just one movement, right? And that's, again, that's what you can do when you've got it memorized. Is just once you've learned it in that detail, you can erase the detail and just have it be this one continuum, that's almost the ultimate. So that was the A side. And then why don't we do the B side facing north? I don't think we've done that. Have we done that? I don't know. Okay. B side now. Shift left, slide that right foot back, and transfer the weight back, turning. Back to dragon pose. Our version of single whip. Step around, strike a tiger. Okay. Step in and back, hold, and push. And I'll do the fancy leg step, just so you can see it from behind, and then a shoulder strike, and then pivot around, make this hoop shape, draw the bucket from the well, shift back, pivot around again. All of our favorite 90-degree pivots, just a sinking downward push, and then white snake darts out its tongue. So, to flip back to the A side, of course, 7 stars, carry hammer, white crane. I'm adding in some little extra twisting and turning, right? Every movement can have a little pre-movement. We've discussed that before. Okay, just about done. All right, maybe pick your foot up. Wait a minute. Okay, yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah, if you get a little extra movement before you move, that's okay. So that's like when you see a basketball player up on the free throw line. They don't come up here and go there. They come up here and they go there. So they make a little pre-circle. So I'm trying to think of a case where we might do this. You can do it all over your form. So let's just go through on the A side. If I catch myself doing it, I'll let you know. So we would, well, we could do it right here. So before I step out, I could kind of I could turn the waist in, so I could bring the waist, so I could start here, turn the waist in, that steps that out, This comes up. I've seen a lot of people get a little movement here first, and you come through there, and then, so, well, there's nothing there, I don't know. It's hard to say. So yeah, a little more hip movement there. So it's just all exaggerations of this energy, right? So here, okay, so here, so instead of just freezing here, I can get a little movement there to keep this in a circle and then come through to there. I don't know if you can see this or not. And then back to here, and over, shift, there. Definitely big circle here. You can exaggerate that as much as you want. It feels really good. Why not? I'm probably out of the frame, just about out of the frame. I'm going to come over to here and then back to there. And that's another thing. The little hop steps, our form allows you to do that, right? It's a very light form. It's not a super heavy, right? So we cover that too. So that's our form for the day. And you can do your stepping. Remember, if you're not a big form person, you can do your circle walking. So find yourself a center. I hope that you guys can visualize your circle. That's another skill, visualizing things in space, right? I know that when we do this in class, our circle rapidly becomes distorted. So that's another skill. It's all skills, not just some things, right? All right, and I'll switch. Switch as often as you like. Whoa. I told you this is not easy. Alright. It's good. So I'm trying to take these pretty long steps, right? And if you do, you're going to lose your balance. I don't mean long in terms of length. I mean long in terms of hang time with this leg in the air, right? Okay. Thinking maybe editing that out. No, I'm not going to edit it out. I want you to know that this is not easy. This is not easy for anybody, right? It should be challenging. If it's not challenging, you can always make it more challenging. You can sink lower. You can keep the legs in the air for a longer time, right? Or you can always go slower. Slower is always harder. All right, good. That's our stepping. But you can step a lot longer, especially if you're not practicing your form. Then stepping is what you should do. Seriously, do it every day, especially if you're not getting a lot of exercise. And if you are getting a lot of exercise, feel how this is different. This is different. So let's go ahead and end with our favorite Qigong. So this time I promise I'll be quiet. Because if you're brand new, just refer back maybe to our very first video. I think I explained it. This is your meditation. This is a chance to feel through this movement, the different things that we've done. I promise I'll be quiet now. close with a proverb by Confucius, 500 BC. And this may relate to our Tai Chi practices. This one has many meanings. That's why it's so great. He said, "The lamp is easy to find once it has been lit." And thank you so much for viewing week after week. It's so wonderful. And I can feel your presence, even though you're not physically here, and you may not even be here. You're certainly not here in the same time, same place. How much further can you be removed? Anyway, that's plenty. Anyway, but I can still feel you, even though you. So we'll see you next week for sure. Okay, and thank you so much. Oh, and thanks to all my teachers. I haven't thanked my teachers. I won't mention you by name. You know who you are, and it's all. Yeah, I owe a great debt to all my teachers.